you guys for tuning in today. Appreciate you guys jumping in the conversation with us. Excited to have Bryan Hill with us today. He's got an extensive background in business development as well as education. I'm looking forward to the conversation with Bryan today about technology that he's using and has been using over the years. I really just kind of want to dive into some conversation there. So, Bryan, I'll kick it off to you. Tell us where you are, what you've been doing, and kind of where you came from.
Yeah, I don't know if we have enough time to tell the whole story, but we'll tell a little bit. No, thank you for the opportunity. I appreciate what we're doing. I've got the way I usually say it is a dual domain background. I've got over a decade of business development and sales, and I'll be starting my 22nd year of teaching and education. Awesome. Coaching, I've been very fortunate in the people that I've met and where I've come from. Just when I moved here to Texas in 1997, had no job. Yeah. A guy said, "Hey, move here with me. I'll pay for your bills." Had somebody talk me into teaching. Yeah. Very fortunate. Had a great program down in Clear Lake Intermediate and then moved up here to the Woodlands. Yep. Spent 19 years there. Baseball, football, track, coached them all, taught biology, taught PE. Yeah. It was great. It was a fantastic move. The amount of people that I've met, the amount of experiences that I have has been amazing. Yeah. And led me to an opportunity. Actually, one of those contacts led me, he was a GM of a company called Gordon Foods. Yeah. And they had an opening. He and I had talked before. He said, "Look, let me get you in front of my manager." Fantastic company. Loved working for them. Loved the prospecting, the business development piece. Loved sitting down with clients and having conversations about how can we make your business. I don't want to sell you. I want to know how can I make your business, and here's the solutions I have. Yeah. That was awesome. Worked for them for 4.5 years and had an opportunity to start my own business with two other people. Yep. We started it. It was called the Green Business Bureau, and it was the amount of side bars that have come out of this, side businesses. We got involved with Cup of Joey. Yeah. There's no business there yet. But it's a great platform. As a matter of fact, we have one coming up soon. We'll have one in the Woodlands branch. And it's a great networking event. The business that we had with GBB didn't. Right. It didn't go. Right. Selling sustainability in an oil and gas community, it's pretty tough. Yeah. Understand that. Yeah. But the experiences and that I've gotten, I've let it change me in a positive way. Yep. And absolutely am thankful for everything that's come my way. Yeah. We talk a lot about, I've had this conversation with a few different entrepreneurs and stuff. And it's like, depending on how you look at things and the frame that you look at things in. So like you're talking about the GBB and kind of some of the things that happen there, right? If you're looking at that through the lens of, it fell apart, whatever, like if you learned something and you moved forward with it, that's the key, right? Yes. So like everything is a learning opportunity. Everything is a learning experience. And if you can kind of take all of those things in, even when you have things like that happen, that doesn't necessarily work the way that you wanted it to or whatever, you haven't lost anything because you learned something. Right. As long as you learn something, it's an investment in time. It's an investment in, in yourself and moving those things forward. So that's awesome. And I think that's the journey of everybody. We've definitely had some of those things, internally with the company and where we've made decisions and said, man, we thought this was really going to go in this direction, but it didn't, and then you've just kind of got to pivot and make the decision and move. And again, I think as long as you learn something out of it, you learn kind of what's working and what's not and the directions that you need to go. So. And I'm a man of faith. And my son, it's funny because my son, after he graduated last year from high school, I've got twin, boy, girl. Yeah. He worked in a restaurant business, came to me and said, I don't like this. Yeah. Okay. Worked for another couple of weeks. He quit like the next day and then started his own business. Yeah. He's got a pressure washing business, started it, and it's growing and growing. That's awesome. He's done amazing stuff. But because of what I went through, the challenges and the opportunity, the way I looked at it, I get to have this conversation with him and help him grow his business. Yeah. And that's one of the things that's been the most rewarding, I think, with some of these conversations is like being able to share those experiences with people and kind of reframe the way people sometimes look at those things. Like it's an awesome piece of all that. So. And I'm a man of faith. And one thing that I keep going back to is anytime something like that happens or you get a negative experience, you can either look at it and take it personal, like a relationship that breaks up. It's not about you. It's about the situation. Right. So the question, and I coach my son and my kids the same way, is to ask, when you have something, ask, what am I supposed to learn or what are you teaching? Yeah. What's the lesson? I had that conversation with a couple of folks not too long ago and we were talking about that and it was just the whole thing of like, if you're responding to, you can only control your response to the situation, right? You're too controllable. Like, you can't control somebody else's response to the situation, but you can control your response. And if you respond the way that you should, and you learn something from it, you haven't lost anything. Gosh, right? If I can get people to understand, if you get an educator, a coach, and somebody with a business background, they are your strength. Because what you just said, we taught to our kids in baseball and football. You have two controllables. It's your attitude and your effort.
Yeah.
It's the same way in business.
Yeah, absolutely. You're 100% correct.
Yeah.
No, that's awesome. From a technology standpoint, what are you seeing right now that's the most effective for either business or education or both, or so maybe something that crosses over? But what are you using now that you feel like really helps you, or what is something that you've seen people use that has been more of an obstacle or a struggle?
I think really the one of the biggest challenges that we have is there's so much out there.
Yeah.
When we first started, you had a tape player.
Yeah.
Or you had the slide where you would punch it and go to a slide.
Advance to the next one.
Then you had the projector that you could put up there in the computer that was simple because you could do your presentations, you could do whatever you needed, project it up there.
Yeah.
Now what I'm finding is there's an app for everything. And it's being able to navigate. So when I went back to teaching last year, I logged on to my dashboard, and on my dashboard, I guarantee you there's 50 apps.
Yeah.
I have come to know how to use 10.
Right.
And I think that's one of the challenges that we have is there's so much and nobody really teaches you how to utilize it or how to connect with it.
Right. Getting the most out of the technology that you're using. And to your point, I think if anything, technology has progressed so fast and so quickly that there are so many different options for so many different things. We talk about this all the time is in any given situation or system, even like in the space that we're in now, like, with cameras and mics and everything, there's literally thousands of ways to do this. Right?
Correct.
There are hundreds of different options for mics. There are hundreds of different options for cameras and, hundreds of different options for lighting. And it's figuring out like what actually works for you, right, as the individual.
Right.
And then what makes sense, like, so that whatever you are using is multiplying your time and is helping you, but it's not an obstacle. Right?
Correct.
That kind of thing. So no, I totally get that. The app side of that's interesting because we deal a lot with that as well. So it's like there are so many different options for ways to create something now, and with all the things that are coming, with all the different AI models and those kind of things, it's been interesting to kind of see some of those transitions. But
from a teaching standpoint, I think we can, as educators, we can implement phones and have been able to in a way that you can utilize it. Now, this year's going to be interesting because of the new law, not allowing watches and earbuds and anything like that in the school during the school day, which honestly I'm fine with. But being able to incorporate some of those technologies are easy. Our kids all have laptops. They'll get a laptop. So whenever I teach something, it's set up on there and they can do it on their own time or they can watch it. Yeah. The interesting piece from an education standpoint, I may have a little bit of a different view on this, is the AI.
Yeah.
I find AI on my business side has helped me be able to grow and understand it can do things that aren't my strength.
Yeah.
Growing up in South Louisiana, my writing and my reading ain't so good. It was a challenge. You've got people that you've got different accents and different phrases. So being able to spell is generally what we think of. And I'm challenged to that. Yeah. So if I have an idea and I put it in an AI and it writes it for me, as long as I look at it and read it and make it my own and adjust where needed, I can learn from that. Yeah. And it's created just from doing that a lot over the last year. Yeah. It's helped me to understand and it's educated me. Yeah. From a kid standpoint, an education standpoint, if the kids use that and they use it in that manner, not just to complete their assignment, but they use it to help them better their assignment, I think it can be an educational tool. Yeah. Now, if they use it to just complete work, then it creates, oh, I'm done in 5 minutes. Okay. Right. Yeah. Then we're missing the learning opportunity.
At that point, you're not developing the actual cognitive skill of thinking through the entire problem or thinking through the assignment that you need to do. Right. So like, to your point, I found myself going through, and if I'm checking things or if I'm writing an email, I'll go through the process of actually writing the email with the thoughts that I want to say and the things that I want to do. And then I'll throw it through the AI and say, okay, what changes could I make to this to make it read better? Yeah. Read more better?
Read more better.
Yeah. Read more better. Yeah. Something along those lines. But yeah. So at that point though, it's amazing to me, like to your point, like it's the whole thing of you're putting down your thoughts, you're thinking through the issue, then it's almost like you're having somebody review it. Right. It's almost like a coach, right? Correct. So it's almost like it's trying to help you like, hey, here's a different way to say this, or here's a way that, makes more sense to say this, or some of those kind of things. So it's interesting to kind of play around with those models and see some of what's possible. There are some things that it does very well. So your point, like
Right.
if you're reviewing content that you're creating or content that you're writing, kind of getting another view on that or changing some verbiage works really, really well for that. And some of the image creation stuff is really, really interesting to watch as well. But it's funny, like the more that you dig into it, you can put a prompt in and, say, do an image of this person taken with this camera, all these details, all this other information, and you still get somebody that's got like 6 toes.
Yes.
Or
Yeah.
6 fingers,
Yeah.
or, their eyes off in one crazy direction or something really, really different. But
That's the piece right there. The editing, the audio, the
Mhm.
video.
yeah.
I haven't gotten deep into, but I think is my next.
Yeah.
It's funny because, my son started a business.
Mm-hmm.
He has learned to utilize AI and be able to build a whole business plan. And he doesn't have a background in that.
Yep.
But he's understood it. And I'm watching and helping him going, dude, this is amazing.
Yeah.
The younger ones always,
Yeah.
they understand how to use it. But there's also, we go back to the piece, I can see when he's too heavy reliant on it.
Right.
Because you still need that human interaction.
Yeah. And I think the trick there is, like you were talking about, I think it's the using it more as a coach
Yes.
than as a completer of tasks.
You can't
right?
think for me.
Because you can't ask it to just, if you just send it a command and say, draw me a sales letter for this business with this thing, and you just let it go.
Yeah.
It's going to have, to your point, it's going to have no personality. It's going to come across very robotic sometimes, very just, you can just tell.
The authenticity of it
Yes.
is extremely important.
Yes. Yeah.
That's what
absolutely.
separates us from who we are.
Exactly. And it's been funny to kind of go through, and even in the process of recording the shows that we've done so far, kind of keeping that paramount and keeping conversations organic and not trying to, it's not supposed to be a scripted deal. It's supposed
Right.
to be like a conversation to
Right.
talk through, like, what are you as a person actually seeing in these areas of your life where you're using technology or whatever the thing is. Right?
Yes. Yes.
So it's really interesting to watch that. And I think I'm curious to see what happens over the next few years with some of that.
The autonomy from a business standpoint, from business development and
Mhm.
sales, the autonomy that you get, you can work from anywhere.
Yeah.
That's been, I think, really amazing because you can go to your kids' games or
Yeah.
you can see their play or
Yeah.
and still be working.
Yeah.
The balance of that, I don't know, there are those of us that are workaholics and work a lot. So we're constantly working, our kids are in bed and we go, we're
Yeah.
still working.
Yeah.
But the ability to be mobile,
Yeah.
to go anywhere, to go on vacation, to still have that is a good thing and a bad thing
Yeah.
at the same time.
Yeah.
I do love the laptop, the CRM applications that we've had
Mhm.
over the past and the different businesses I've had
Yeah.
because it allows you to focus on the most important part, which is your client.
Yeah.
So if you put the information in that you need to, now you've got talk to, there's a lot of different things that you can do that
Yeah.
helps your business.
Yeah.
And, both education and business, the presentation piece.
Yeah.
Being able to present an authentic application of who you are
Yeah.
and put it, whether it's marketing or whether you're doing an educational presentation,
Right.
you're doing training, the amount of apps, the amount of technology that's out there that you can do it like that
Yeah.
is growing. And it's amazing. Just going from where we were
Yeah.
when I first started to now,
Yeah.
it's absolutely amazing.
I think it's interesting talking about the availability of technology that exists now versus what used to be available or what you could do before, and things that would take hours, days, weeks, months, now are, 5 minutes, 10 minutes,
And anybody, you don't
Okay.
have to have a degree.
Yeah.
Anybody can do it.
There's so many options for some of those things. It's interesting to watch that because some of the things that it takes you time to develop, like the skill of, public speaking is a skill, right?
Right.
Doing conversations like this, having an interview or going through some of those things, it's definitely a skill. And there's always things to like continue to move and progress forward. And so it's funny to watch some of these things progress, where like you're using one technology and all of a sudden now you're having to present that, and maybe you didn't spend as much time on the presentation
Yes,
piece of
yes,
the presentation side. And so now you're having to kind of, run to catch up and be able to facilitate those conversations in a way that makes sense. It's interesting to watch that. And I think one of the other things that's interesting because of the options that we have, I think people are more prone to analysis paralysis now
Yes.
because there are so many options. Like, it's an interesting phenomenon to see because it's like you could choose any tool, right? Like Word, Microsoft Word. There's a ton of different word processing apps now, like where you used to be limited to like 2 or 3 options back in the 90s or whatever. Now there are literally thousands of options for that. So it's finding the ones that work for you as the individual, finding the technologies that work for you as an individual, but then spending the time to perfect your craft with those things rather than, oh, I'm going to jump to the next one. Oh, I'm going to jump to the next one. Because you're on this constant relearning curve of, I have to learn how the new system works.
Yes.
That kind of thing. I think there are some base level principles from a software standpoint. I think with computers in general, like depending on how much time somebody's spent on them, there are some things that are kind of intrinsic to programs, right? Most of them have a file drop down. Most of them have, an edit thing that you can go back and undo, or, whatever the changes are that you need to make. That's typical of most all programs,
Yes.
right? Because there's kind of a framework that all of them run on. And it's like, once you kind of understand that, then it's just diving into the specifics of each program. But I feel like there are a lot of people who jump from thing to thing to thing,
Yes,
and they never progress much further because they can't master that one skill, and I think it's that, the whole thing of, it's the microwave versus the crock pot. Right?
Yeah. If we could, and there may be one out there, I haven't come across one, but just from my experience with education last year, if there were an app that could tap into all the apps and you could, because it's almost like they're specific to each of what they do, when you could expand it to where this app could do all in one app. It would be much simpler. To me, that makes sense, but I don't know. And you were talking about technology and stuff. It made me think, I remember sitting in class with learning BASIC and how to write BASIC. And, and I was, when you said that, I was like, I had to laugh because, man, it's how things have changed and how complex it is now. It's amazing.
It has been very interesting to watch that progression. If you go back to the original monitors for computers were one color. They were all green, they were all whatever, whatever the color was for the text, or, those kind of things. It's so funny to think about that, and just to go back and, think about where technology was even 20 years ago, 25 years ago. It feels like we are light years beyond what it was, back then. I mean, so it's been very interesting to watch that transition. What do you feel like this is the most useful technology for you in the education space? What are you using the most right now?
What I used last year, what I may use this year is more AI. There's some AI programs to help that I'm starting to look into. Well, of course, you got ChatGPT. Those are basic, but I want to be able to utilize the technology to write the curriculum better.
Okay.
To where I'm not spending a bunch of time having to, when you plan a class, it can take a lot of time. If AI can help me plan it, I put my ideas in quickly and it spits out what I'm going to do in the 45 minutes I've got, or the 30 minutes I've got.
Right.
I think that'd be helpful. The other piece that I want to look at a little bit deeper into is, and I did some last year, just your basic technology, your basic Word, creating assignments where kids can do them and submit them, and it's much easier to grade.
Okay.
It's kind of like the AI. I don't want to take the personal side out of it, but then again, I don't want to spend 3 hours grading papers. It's a waste of my time. So holding the kids to that standard and finding the technology that we can utilize to best accomplish that, I think is where I'm at right now. As far as what we're using right now, I can do assignments and post it on my website for the kids. When they get to class, it opens up. I can schedule it to open. I find that so if I've got first period, second period, third period, it won't open until then. Until
they're in there,
Correct. And I like that because, if you're sitting in English class, I don't want you looking at my stuff.
You need to focus on what you're doing.
Correct. And vice versa. When you get in my class, I want you to focus. So being able to have that open up, and if there's an assignment in there or a presentation I've created, it allows me to walk around and do individual while speaking to the class, while teaching the lesson. Putting that away, of course, I teach biology, so anything that you can do hands-on is amazing. Through that, there's been a lot of videos you can download, you can clipping pieces of videos are amazing. I think we were talking earlier, I was in a movie, I clipped a piece today. I think in my post today, it has a piece of clippings from that. 10 years ago, 5 years ago, that would have been difficult to do. Now I can find it anywhere, clip it, and post it. So adding something like that to an educational presentation to where the kids can engage is amazing. I'll be honest with you. I told my kids, you can get lost in this technology. Where you see them walking around like this. Their earbuds in. I mean, they're just locked in. I want to be the positive energy in their day. I want to use that technology, but pull them out, because I may be the only positive energy they see, except for what they see in their phones. So the balance of that from an educational standpoint is extremely important, because we still have kids that need to grow and they still need to interact. They don't have that.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of them out there that aren't. So being able to balance the technology is extremely important.
Yeah, I was talking about that with one of the previous guests on the show around kind of the interaction of AI and what we do on a regular basis as, human beings, and just how it's not going to be, we can't live in a world where, like you're talking about, like where it is a task completer and it just does everything for us.
Yes.
Those kind of things. Because at that point, like, you really start to have the question of, okay, what am I actually doing here then? What am I supposed to be doing? Right. There's a lot more to that. I think, the combination of those things all kind of coinciding, it really is going to be what are we doing with it, using it as a tool, right? Rather than as something that, at some point we just cede all decision making to and say, just figure it out and let me know.
Right.
Like that doesn't make any sense. And I think it puts all of us in a very interesting and unique position because now you can make those decisions to say, this is what I want the purpose of my life to be. And I want to use these things as a tool to help me, like you're talking
Correct.
about, making those connections with students, like picking somebody's head up from the phone for 20 minutes and really having a engaging conversation or, something like that.
There's so many things we could add. One of my, I guess my goals, one of the things I want to do with education.
Yeah.
I know this isn't necessarily technology, but it partially is. I want to be able to incorporate kids understanding their purpose.
Yeah.
I don't think because of the way our family units are now, because of the technology that parents allow, that I'm guilty to, give them a phone, go, and they're into that. They have laptops at their disposal. They have tablets. They have everything they want. But I don't think we do a very good job as parents or as an education system teaching our kids their purpose.
Yeah.
Or I don't need to tell you, but how can I help you get there?
How can I help you find it?
Correct. And then be able to attach that to what's the career path and what's the life path that I want to do. One of my passions, I've actually sat down and written it out, put it in. It's still sitting there about how we can actually incorporate that starting in junior high.
Yeah.
There is a technology piece that goes along with it because you have to.
Yeah.
And I think whether you're running a business, my goodness, just on a side, just kind of going off on a tangent. When we were coaching, and I started coaching football at the Woodlands High School in 98, we would scout.
Yeah.
And we had the cameras. You would trade film at the end of the game. We would have film for them. They'd take it home. We'd watch it on the old VCR.
Yeah.
And you'd make notes. 5-10 years later, we were using technology that you could go watch a game, leave, and then the next day we had an IT coach. He was a coach. He coached position, but he outside of that, he did IT. That was it. And we had to do that. He would talk to the coaches. They would send the film,
all their files
over the internet. We would do the same, send it back. We would clip it, and then you would watch your game film on Saturday morning after a Friday night game, while we had a crew of IT coaches that were junior high coaches, and then our head coach, and then we had students that were a part of this that were breaking down the film and setting us up for Sunday. So Sunday we would come in, we'd sit down, you'd have the technology laid out, would lay on the floor, sit in a chair, and you'd pop it on a video screen. Yeah. And it was amazing to watch that happen and how it affects your thinking process. Again, going back to what we talked about, if you use those things in a smart manner like we were doing, you can improve and do a lot of stuff for your business, for your athletics. It doesn't matter what you're doing. Yeah. But you can't let it think for you.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and I think it's to what you're talking about with purpose. I think if you understand who you are as an individual and what you feel your purpose is and what you're doing, you're going to have kind of a guiding direction, and like you're going to be making decisions differently. You're going to be making choices differently, right? So whatever tool you're using doesn't matter at that point.
Correct.
It still is in service to the purpose that you have, for your life, right? And so that's really awesome to hear. I mean, because I agree with you. I think helping people find that is really beneficial, right?
Yes.
It gives them something to shoot for. It gives them, a reason to get up in the morning and go to work and do the things that they need to do, and all those kind of things. It's been interesting for us. Like, we've gone through and started using a tool called the Predictive Index, which for an individual, it's a survey that you can take, and I don't understand the science behind it, but it is very amazing. It's a 2-question test basically, and you're just answering with some, you're picking kind of a number of answers for each of the questions. It takes about 10 minutes to do. But out of that 10 minutes, you get kind of a 90 to 95% snapshot of what the individual is naturally gifted at, what they naturally lean towards, what they're going to excel in just naturally because of their personality, because of who they are.
Correct.
Those kind of things. And so it'll tell you if somebody's very detail oriented or if they're, very driven or, some of those kind of things. And now granted, there is variance in all of those things, right? So I'm not going to say that it's, this is 100% who this person is, but it gives you a very good idea from a business standpoint.
Mm-hmm.
Like, okay, I always use the example, like if you're hiring for a sales position, you don't want to hire somebody that has very limited social skills and doesn't like interacting with people.
Yeah.
Because if they're supposed to be
introvert,
if they're supposed to be going and talking to people, you want somebody that like naturally wants to do that and is good at that. And like, that's something that really, gives them energy and, those kind of things. And so it's been funny to we've started to use that in kind of our decision-making around who we hire for what positions and those kind of things.
Right.
To your point, I feel like if I, as an employer, can understand my employee and understand how to set them up to be successful, if we as individuals understand ourselves and already are kind of looking for those opportunities, then when those things collide, you really kind of get set on a trajectory that can really kind of change your life.
It's funny. I went to college.
Mm-hmm.
I wanted to play baseball.
Yeah.
That's why I went to college.
Yeah.
I remember sitting down with my counselor. I went to 2, 3, 4 different colleges trying to play baseball, different levels.
Yeah.
And a couple junior colleges mixed in there. And I remember sitting down my 4th year with my counselor. I wanted to be an engineer, but I wanted to be a baseball player.
Yeah.
Sit down with her. She goes, "Hey, we need a minor for you." I looked her and I said, "Oh, okay. What's my major?" I didn't know what my major was.
Wow.
And I knew they didn't have engineering, but I wanted to play baseball and had a great opportunity.
Yeah.
And so what I ended up doing was, she said education. I went, okay, let's do math, because I looked at the credits I had because I wanted to be an engineer.
Yeah.
That didn't work. I didn't do so well in the higher level of math. I wouldn't connect it to it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And then I switched to science and loved biology, and ever since then, that's what I graduated and did.
Yeah.
The funny thing is our kids are the same way.
Yeah.
They go to college.
Mm-hmm.
They don't know what to do. They don't know their purpose. So they get there and they go, what am I doing here? There are those that are great cases that know from an early age, but there's more that don't.
Yeah.
And it's funny, you mentioned technology and how that impacts. I took a test that was a why test, how to find your why.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I took it. I had a conversation with a gentleman. He and I were doing it together and looking at it. And when it spit out, I went, that's me.
Yeah. Yeah.
Granted, I was much older.
Yeah.
For a young kid, you could look at it and go, oh, I connect to that. But for me, I looked at it and went, why didn't I do this sooner?
Yeah.
Those, to your point earlier, those can be great guidelines, and they can be things that can guide you and push you. When you use technology in that manner, it's something that you can utilize. It can't be a crutch. Go back to the AI. It can't be the only thing. You still have your own intelligence, and you typically know you. Yeah. But it can be a great guideline for people.
Yeah. It's funny. I'm a big movie fan. Go back to the line from I forget if it was Iron Man or I think it was either Iron Man or Spider-Man, one of the two, but where he's talking about like, if you're nothing without the suit, then the suit's not going to solve the problem for you, right? Yes. The technology is not going to solve the problem for you. If you can't handle yourself as an individual without all of the other things and all of the other technologies, if you can't express the idea, at least in a way that is relatable and real and some of those kind of things, the input that you give to those things is only going to create a more distorted output.
Yes.
Right. And we talk about that with video and audio all the time, and from a microphone standpoint, if the input of the microphone is, if I'm super, super far away from the microphone,
right,
or whether I'm closer to the microphone, it's going to make a huge difference in the overall audio quality, because the input is going to definitely affect the output. Mm-hmm. And I think that's the piece that, to your point, I think a lot of people miss. The other thing I think that happens too is a lot of people get hung up on, I have to make a decision now that I'm going to stick with for the rest of my life. And I'm 14 or 13 or whatever. And if I don't take this math class, then the rest of my life is just going to be garbage. And that's just not the case. Right?
Yes.
I'm a living example of, I didn't finish high school. I went to more of a technical college school, right? Focused on audio engineering, things that I really enjoyed. I had a music background, that was kind of my direction, and never would have thought that kind of following that path all the way out that I would end up in the position that I'm in now.
Right.
And it's definitely not something that, I would have looked back at and said, hey, you know what, this is where I want to go and this is what I want to do. I had thoughts like that, and I started to go down those paths, and none of them ever worked. Right. And so I eventually kind of got comfortable with, I need to build a skill with the thing that's in front of me, the thing that I'm good at, move that to the next one and do the same thing over again. And over the years, kind of stacking those skills, that's what has created, the things that we're doing now and, being able to do that. So I understand I look at the people that have made the decisions on what they want to do at a very young age, and I'm like, that is amazing for you. I don't understand how it works, but
yeah, it's a blessing for sure.
Yeah.
And at the same time, the ones that don't,
yeah,
I think it's also a blessing if we let it, because we become more like the Swiss Army knife. We're very diverse in what we do. And I think a lot of times, even though I'm in education, I'm still looking for a new career.
Yeah.
I want to do something that's impactful, business development. I love the interaction of people.
Yeah.
And I sometimes think that we let technology, because you have to create a new resume so that ATS can read it.
Mm-hmm.
Huh? Okay, great.
Yeah.
My other one looked great. What's wrong with it? So you have to create those things. Technology can be good for a company, and it can also be bad for the employee.
Yeah.
The other piece is people look at what you've done and not necessarily who you are.
Yeah. Yeah.
And it's a piece of paper. So when they look at you, like, this is the other good thing, because I do have my own podcast, What Makes You Tick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. And I would have never guessed I would be doing this. And sitting there doing it, I love the interaction. I'm not nervous at all. It feels very natural.
Yeah.
I get to learn about people.
Yeah.
But the one thing that it does that I really think, and this is a big boost for technology, I can give you my resume. You see everything I did on paper, but that's your interpretation of me.
Yeah.
If I do something like this where I'm doing a podcast, I'm presenting, people get to see my personality.
Yeah.
They get to see who I am because it's very authentic, and I'm going to be who I am on camera or behind the camera. It doesn't matter.
Yeah.
So for a lot of people, I think being able to get yourself out there is important, as long as you're doing it right. And you're doing it authentic. You're not trying to be the sales guy and come up with a sales pitch.
Yeah.
You're not the infomercial.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know?
I think it's interesting because like what you're saying with reviewing resumes and stuff. So we've just gone through some processes. We've hired a couple of people and kind of gone through the process of looking at resumes and doing that whole thing. What was really interesting was, like I said, the PI that we've started using to kind of start understanding what people are naturally gifted at.
Yes.
Looking at their resume through that lens, you start to understand a lot quicker. Okay, here's where things really make sense. Here's where things don't really make sense. And to your point, it becomes a thing where you get to know more of the individual's natural state.
Correct.
Right? It's almost it's like the National Geographic shows, like watching somebody in their natural habitat.
Yes.
That whole thing, what they're naturally driven and good at, aside from what you put on your resume so that it gets seen. I think that is a downfall of the technology, in the fact that it's sorting things in a certain way and doing things in a certain way. And to your point, I think some of the human element of that gets lost.
Yes, it feels,
right?
Yes.
Yeah. And so figuring out, okay, how do I find the right person who has the natural ability? Because like at the end of the day, like you want to put somebody in a position that they're going to succeed.
Correct.
Right? And you want to set them up for success. The way to set them up for success, or at least the way that I've found so far that's been the most successful for us, has been to find out, like, is that person going to be naturally good at the thing that you need them to do?
Correct.
Right? And if they are, then you're already setting them up for success, because you're not stretching them to do something that they don't want to do, or that they don't understand, or they don't have a natural inclination to do. If you're bringing them on from that standpoint and you're using that as the lens, they are far set up more for success than any other way that you could do that.
Right.
So yeah, it's interesting to
it's purpose driven. Like that's purpose driven.
Yeah.
So because if you have a purpose and I'm helping you find that and it matches up, I think that's huge. And technology can help us definitely figure that piece out.
Yeah.
I think the other piece is if you hire somebody that has similar values as you or your company.
Yeah.
And you have a education. Here we go with my education piece again. If you have an education set up to where you can train that person, and there's some of the best companies I've worked for had that. Yeah. And when you train them, what you need them to know, they buy in. Yeah. And when they buy in, it doesn't matter what their background is. This person, if they buy in and can learn, can do more for a business or for a company than somebody that naturally comes in. Yeah. There are a lot of good training things that you can set up with your technology. They can do on their own. They can do, remotely. Yeah, remotely. There's coffee shops. Yeah. You can go and you can see, you can go sit in a coffee shop and do it. You can do it anywhere now. Yeah.
No, I totally agree with you. I mean, that's one of the things we've been working on from a system and process standpoint. How do you get some things in place so that, when you are doing those trainings for people that, to your point, they can literally do it anywhere, right?
Yeah.
And that's, we've talked about, when we go through a process, like actually just creating a video of what you're doing.
Hmm.
Like, this is how this works and this is why we do it this way. Here's the playbook on it. Here's the video. If you have any questions, come back to us and ask us those kind of things. Those are all things that, I think in business in general, it's funny because as you kind of walk through the progression of business and you walk through the different ranges of revenue and those kind of things, like you start to hit all of these other, like, okay, I've gone from, 0 to $1 million. Okay, that's this list of problems. That's this set of problems. And from $1 million to 3 million is this set of problems. And from 3 to 6 is,
Yes.
it's a totally different, like every time you kind of have to level up and figure out, okay, what's the next thing that we have to hand off, or what's the next thing we have to train on, or what's the next hire, or those kind of things. And it's doing it that way. I think it definitely makes sense. Giving somebody the tools ahead of time. One, if you've positioned your company in a way that they can buy into what you do as a company,
Right.
that the culture matches, that they're a culture fit for your company, that you have a decent chemistry with them, and that you've created a culture that they can thrive in, and then you've given them the tools, that's where you start to create some really successful.
And that's the piece
people
that I think that we can miss out on very easily.
Yeah.
With all the technology and everything that's in front of us. We miss out. And I had conversation last night with a few friends, and that was one that we would have. I know one of the businesses that she works for is a startup business, and you can see the frustration because it's not who they are, and it's a technology-based company, startup, new.
Yeah.
But when you don't find the people that match your why, your purpose, it's difficult. You butt heads and you don't get along, and your business is not going to be successful.
Yeah. No, I totally get that. In the athletics realm, what is the most exciting piece of technology that you've seen in the athletic side?
Oh, goodness.
I know we've talked about like the film. I know we've talked about some of the apps and things like that. But is there like one thing that you can look at that says, oh, this was really exciting. This was really cool?
It's probably outdated now. I believe it was, if I'm correct, remember it was Huddle.
Okay.
For football.
Yeah.
When that first came out and as it developed, you could upload your film and you could break down film, you could break down plays, you could build playbooks in it.
Yeah.
The amount of setup you could do for your program was amazing.
Yeah.
In season, out of season. Now, granted, it created more work for us.
Yeah.
But if you had something that worked, you had plays that worked, you could draw it up. It's there.
Yeah.
It's not going anywhere.
Yeah.
The breaking down of film, your own film, other team film was amazing. The cut up, because I could cut up running plays.
Yeah.
Once you downloaded it and you had somebody, that's what they would do Saturday morning, is once it downloaded, they would mark it as run, pass, or special teams.
Yeah.
And you could mark it. Then I could look at all my running plays.
Yeah. And then you could see everything that was there.
Correct. From a
Totally makes
defense
sense.
or an offensive standpoint. If we're looking forward, and I'm a baseball guy, the automated umpire I find fascinating.
Yeah.
Former catcher. So I could see when my stuff.
That would be super interesting.
Yeah. And one of the things, when I would train catchers, and still to this day, framing it, sticking it, trying to get that call, that's an art piece.
Yeah.
But if we go to like an automated umpire, that piece is going to go away.
Yeah.
All you can do is now catch the ball.
Yeah.
So I'm kind of from that standpoint, the slow motion film that you can break down, back in the old day, one of my coaches was Dr. Mike Marshall.
Okay.
He coached us the last 2 years I was at Henderson State. He played for the Los Angeles Dodgers and still holds record for the most games pitched in a year. I believe it's 108 games in a year.
Yeah.
He was an amazing man, very arrogant across people. He and I got along well because he would analyze data. Yeah. And I mean, we're talking, early 90s.
Yeah.
He would show us film that he took from the 70s and the 80s of the high speed, 9mm, I think?
Yeah.
And he would show it and slow it down.
Yeah.
And he would show how the body would throw, the throwing motion, how you would go through it. And he broke down the muscles that it would use. And I took his class, his baseball theory class.
Yeah.
And we did a lot of that. Oh, I was like, gosh, I love this. I mean, that was early 90s.
Yeah.
And now you can easily find film and break it down, slow motion, zoom in. You can overanalyze a swing or a pitch for your golf game, for your baseball game, whatever you want to do.
Well, I imagine too, like if you paired that with, I'm sure there's plenty of sensor technology as well like either on the glove, on the ball, in your hand, just in the body in general, to even further analyze those things even further down to,
Yes.
like you're talking about, to like the muscle groups that you're using and how is that affecting the individual player and what are
Mhm.
changes that they need to make for themselves. That side of things is extremely interesting to see how far all of that has come. Because I agree with you. Like watching an old film like that would be extremely interesting. And then seeing how far that's come with all of the digital improvements,
Yes.
right? And the film that you can get from a digital standpoint now, and even further, like get that down with a higher resolution and be able to see every single thing that's happening and
Yes.
analyze it. That's pretty, it would be
Well,
pretty amazing.
and you're a movie guy.
Yeah.
Watching movies now and the technology they put in it at night when I'm doing some work or working around the house, I'll put on a movie.
Yeah.
Just regular TV movie, no big deal.
Yeah.
Find something I like. And I'll, of course, we'll go from one movie to the next. It'll stay there.
Mm-hmm.
And one was a technology movie in the late 80s, early 90s.
Mhm.
And then you have the Avengers and all. And it was very similar. It was both of them were superhero movies.
Yeah.
And watching the technology, and you
It's
could
totally
see,
different.
oh my gosh, yeah.
Yeah,
And we're only talking maybe
it's
10,
totally
15 years difference.
Yeah, it's funny if you're a movie buff or if you're somebody that likes the entertainment industry or movies in general. There are two documentaries that I think are just absolutely phenomenal.
Yeah.
Both of them are on Disney. It's the Light and Magic, which is the documentary about industrial light and magic. So George Lucas's special effects company for Star Wars.
Oh, yeah.
And all of the things that came out of that. Like I didn't even realize how many things exist today because they were created for that type of business in that industry. So Photoshop wouldn't exist without that. It was created to edit individual frames of movies to create the special effects of things changing or things moving.
Right.
So like some of these things like wouldn't exist today without these people like moving forward in the entertainment industry, right?
Yeah.
Pixar came out of ILM. That it was their computer division at one point, and they sold it off to Steve Jobs. Interestingly enough, I thought this was interesting. The Apple didn't make Steve Jobs a billionaire. Pixar made Steve Jobs a billionaire.
Oh.
When he bought the technology from ILM, I think in the late 80s, something like that. And then they developed over the course of the rest of the 80s and into the early 90s, they developed the technology. And then when Toy Story came out, that's when Pixar went through the roof.
Correct.
Because everybody realized this is an actual sustainable, this is a thing now. Right?
Yeah.
But yeah, I always thought that was interesting that,
I've never seen this.
he's mostly associated with Apple, but nobody really understood that like it wasn't Apple that made him a billionaire. So
Which movie was that in?
the original Toy Story movie. The original, yeah.
Oh, okay. Got
Yeah.
it.
So, yeah. When they actually released Toy Story, that's when they knew that Pixar and the digital animation,
Yes.
like the computer animation thing, that's when all of that really like took off.
Right.
But yeah, it's just very interesting to watch though. The other documentary in there that's really interesting to watch, especially if you're into those types of things, is the Imagineers documentary. And it basically just shows how Disney built all the theme parks and all the things that they did for the theme parks and things that they took from the theme parks and put into the movies, like technologies that they used from one to the other and, things like that is very, very interesting. Like just the progression of those things and how thinking outside of the box and dreaming outside of the box, but then bringing that back into a practical application of I'm going to build this thing and this is what we're building and this is why it exists and those kind of things. Super, super interesting.
What's the name of that one again?
Imagineers.
Imagineers. Okay.
Yeah. Or Imagineering or something along those lines. Yeah. But both of those are on Disney Plus, which is interesting. But what is something you've either used or that you see people using in the business development side? Do you think it's the CRM? Do you think that's the most critical piece of stuff that you're using? You're doing your own podcast. You're doing some LinkedIn posts, you're doing a lot of stuff on social. What of all of those things do you feel like is the most helpful, or is it a combination of all of those things?
I think CRM is extremely important. From my standpoint, when you're trying to call on a bunch of businesses, regardless of what you're doing, I think knowing your client and being with your client, understanding your client, consulting with your client is the most important piece.
Yeah.
So the CRM for me is big because I can do research on them. I can help them out. I can make notes. I can track everything.
Yeah.
It opens my mind. I don't have to remember all this stuff.
Yeah.
I can find it at a click and I can utilize it and go back and remember this conversation we had. As I'm not going to trust my memory or their memory. So if I put it in fairly quickly, I can go back and before I walk in the next time, I have a conversation of, this is what we're going to do. Here's your solution. Here's a problem. This is what you needed. You asked for. I can't find it. Do we have another source or something else? You can use? all of those are important questions because we're looking to solve a solution
Yeah.
and consult with them no matter what we're doing, whether it's actual consulting or selling product.
Yeah.
I think the CRM is extremely important. I think it's become useful.
Mm-hmm.
I also think the other piece, just again, from my education standpoint, I think anything that you can do to help educate, there's so many technologies, videos, interactions that you can do. I think from a business development standpoint, you have to stay on top of that.
Yeah. With the end user, I would agree. I think we've seen this a lot. Like we find that the customer is far more successful if we go through and train them appropriately. We give them the tool, like we were talking about earlier, different tools that you can use to, further understand the technology, or, videos that, walk them through like, hey, this is actually how you use it. Those kind of things. We find that people are a lot more successful adopting the technology when that's the case. I think that I agree with you. I think the training piece of that is crucial.
And both sides, you know, training for your employees and training for your, I think a lot of people miss that and it becomes boring. Even if they do have it. There's so much technology out there that you can have fun and engage. The better energy you have, the better I think that training is. And it's funny, we were talking about just working in the food business. I worked with a lot of restaurant owners. And there were two things that really amazed me. I had those that wanted to order online. So all I had to do was see if their order went through when they did it. And then I'd have a day during the week where I'd schedule and go sit down with them. If it was a bigger account, I might have more time and be able to help them. And then there are those that they want to do the order with you. You still, you still plug it in. But the amazing piece that I think from that standpoint and for that type of business was it was amazing to see how that went in. You could tell if something was out of stock. So if you had garlic and we only had a certain amount of garlic, once it was spoken for because they had input it when it came in, when we're out, it's out. So you try to order it and it kick you out.
You can't get it
in real time. And then once you submitted your order, to be able to put that into the transportation, to be able to have them load the truck and all of these technologies talking to each other, and then the people putting it in play and getting that delivery to them on time. It's amazing how that happens. But the time, like the amount of time it has to put those technologies in and the amount of time frame that has come from where we used to be to where we are now, it's really not that long.
In the classroom right now, are you guys using more projectors or using more screens, or is it a combination of a few of those?
It depends on what we need. Where the classroom's set up. Projectors are still easy because you can use those. I didn't really use a projector a lot last year. Screens, I could put stuff up on the wall. Oh, TV. I have a TV where a lot of my stuff, interactive TV, where I can write on and teach. And at the same time, I could have them on their laptops, either interacting with it or because everybody gets issued a laptop. They could utilize the laptop, or I could start it on the screen and then they would continue and I'd walk around the classroom, interact with them as they were doing it on their laptop.
Do you find the touch interaction on the screens more useful, or is it only useful at certain times when you're trying to draw attention to specific things or that kind of stuff?
No, I love the interaction on it because I can press play on a video. There's a lot of things you can set up beforehand that allows you to do that. The drawing piece, the writing piece, I do like it, except I don't write very well.
I think a lot of us, I have that same problem on whiteboards. I always write stuff down and I'm like, I don't like the way this looks, but I'm going to do it anyways.
So when you do it, sometimes when you do it, you erase stuff, you go, gosh, I didn't want to erase that. Now, if you do it on a whiteboard, you can erase to be more specific. But I love the interaction of the touch because I can play a video and pause it and point stuff out.
No, that totally makes sense. I've been kind of curious about that because there's been a huge push in touchscreens and touchscreen interactivity, even in corporate side in the commercial industry. And it's funny because it's like some people use it for very specific use cases. I think it goes back to what we were talking about is like fully understanding like how to use the technology to its fullest. Right. And it's funny because you always see these videos on social and that kind of thing of the guys giving the presentations and they're all drawn on the interactive whiteboard and, putting all their numbers and flipping between pages. But it's basically just at that point, it's a glorified flip chart.
Correct.
So it's interesting. I was curious, like how you see that or how you guys are using that, from an education standpoint. How much do you think over the last 15, 20 years, how much do you think technology has changed in the classroom? Just base level principle.
Wow.
Obviously, like some things from a computer standpoint and apps have like totally changed and that's like whatever.
Correct.
What I mean is just basic level hardware that's installed in a classroom. How much do you think that has shifted or changed over the years as what it was, 15, 20 years ago as to what it is now? Are you using kind of same principles, same tools? Is it just video and audio, or are there other things that you guys are incorporating?
Man, I'm going to go back a little bit further simply because I've been out of education up until last year.
Yeah.
Since 2017. So I had a gap where I was working on my own business and the other stuff. So early, I opened the school, which is now the 9th grade campus at the Woodlands High School in 2000.
Yeah.
And it was new back then.
Yeah.
We had very little technology in the classroom. We had a projector on a cart in the middle of the room and a screen we'd pull down.
Yeah.
And then you'd pull the screen up and you had the blackboard or the whiteboard.
Yeah.
So that was fine. The school I did watch when they built them, and they still do a very good job of doing this, is they'll put in wiring.
Yeah.
They'll put in Wi-Fi, but all of that has advanced so rapidly. Some of that stuff they put in, 5 years from then it worked, but then 5 years later it was out of date.
Yeah. And we start to see that on a technology cycle where there's new things coming it feels like every 6 months now. Like there's something new changes, or there's some new app, or there's some new, like iteration of whatever the thing is, right? That's typically the cycle that we see is every 3 to 5 years, like there's a major turnover in whether it's a resolution or whether it's a bandwidth, or, even in cabling. I mean, cabling has changed from, Cat 5 and now you've got Cat 6.
Yes.
And, you're going to, eventually we'll have a Cat 7 or something else, but
the amount of information that can travel on that is amazing.
It's the bandwidth that basically has changed and how it's manufactured. Do you find, obviously now since like all the students have laptops that they're using most of the time, do you feel like you're presenting more on the screen in the room, or do you feel like they're paying more attention to what's on their screen in front of them and they're just using the screen in the room as kind of an auxiliary, like when you want to make a point on something? Do you feel like there's a distinction? I'm just curious, like how that workflow works.
It's one of those things where you have to monitor.
Yeah.
Because it's like anybody else. If you're in a large room with a bunch of people and you've got a computer in front of you or you've got your phone in front of you, it's temptation.
Yeah.
So you're tempted to do other stuff like play a game.
Yeah.
I'm guilty. I'll sit at home working on my computer and just take a deep breath. And so what do? I look at my phone and start playing a game.
Yeah.
For a couple minutes, kind of just break away.
Yeah.
So you really have to monitor and you have to design any type of lesson that I'm doing, design it with the intention of how am I going to use it?
Yeah.
How am I going to be able to make sure they use it, and how can I create buy-in with them?
Yeah. And how are they going to like interact with it? Like to your point, what's the
and I may not have, I still have them right.
Yeah.
So they may not have their laptops open.
Yeah.
The good thing about it is that I can create something and we can go over in class and then boom, it pops up and it's their assignment.
That makes sense.
And they submit it electronically. So I don't have to worry about the transition of paper. Oh, I lost my paper. Oh, my dog ate my homework. Yeah, whatever.
The internet. The internet. Homework now. Yeah. No, totally get that. That's funny. What is the one principle or one piece of advice that has served you well through both education and business? What's the one thing that sticks out to you, whether it's a principle or whether it's a piece of advice that you got from somebody that has carried you through on both education and business, that has kind of filtered through both of those that you see really prevalent in your life?
It's the one driver. When I took the why test, my why was I wanted to be a go-to guy that contributes to the greater good. That's been my core. And that comes from, and I learned this going to church, going to Bible school with the lady that we stayed with while my parents were working.
Yeah.
And it was do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
Yeah.
And over business, education, it doesn't matter. My goal was always to help you find what you need.
Yeah.
Help you find your success.
Yeah.
And I did not really understand and realize how that also kind of flips is surround yourself with the people that believe in you and that the ones that want to help you achieve your dreams.
Yeah.
The positive energy people that you surround yourself with are extremely important.
Yeah.
The negative energy people you want to get rid of.
Yeah.
For me, growing up, for most of my life, that was difficult to do because I was so conscious of doing unto others.
Yeah.
I didn't want to hurt their feelings.
Yeah.
But from a business standpoint, it works.
Yeah.
You have to be able to balance both of them. So doing unto others, taking care of them, but understanding that that might be a negative situation and it becomes toxic.
Yeah.
Maybe somebody else comes in there, it takes that account.
Yeah.
But when you're around the positive people, it makes a big impact and you can do unto others.
I'd be interested to see what your take is. So if we're doing unto others as we would do unto ourselves.
Correct.
What lens are you looking through on that other person because what they may need is probably not what you need.
Correct.
And how do we interpret that in a way that you can actually do that? And honestly, I mean, how does that filter into business, right? I completely agree with you. I think to a certain degree, like if I own a business and I need something done, and it's funny because we talk about this too a lot, is the bar being very low, right? So pick up the phone, do what you say you're going to do, and show up on time. That's the bar, right? And it's unbelievable how low that is in business. But like I've seen that from people that we've called to do things at our office, people that we've called that we've needed help with certain things. And you can tell almost immediately, like who's going to do that and who's not.
Correct.
Like, and it's crazy to me to kind of watch that in the background, and especially like owning a business and interacting with other businesses, and then having things that we need somebody to come in and do, for us. It's very, very interesting to watch that. But through that lens, again, I think it's doing unto others as we would have them do unto us. It's an interesting thought, right? And how that translates into business. So for me, it's like if I'm doing a job for somebody, I want to show up. I want to make sure that, everything is where it needs to be. I want to make sure that they have what they need. But I also want to make sure that we've talked through with them what their actual requirement is, so that I understand, so that we're all speaking the same language, right?
Correct.
Because it's funny because we go in and have conversations about technology to the point we've been talking about the whole time. Like there's so many different options, right? There's so many different things that you could do, like to make sure that you are talking the same language and explaining the same problems and understanding the same requirements from somebody. Sometimes it's very difficult because people have expectations of, like it's funny because we had a lot of people in a corporate setting tell us, we can do so many things from our phone, and why can't I just do this here at the office and just throw it to the thing? And, But what nobody thinks about, and the interesting piece of that in conversations that we've had, is Apple has 100,000 employees who are making sure that the phone does what it's going to do, and it's designed correctly and does all the things that it needs to do. If you have a TV like a Samsung or an LG or something like that, those companies have 100,000 employees who are all working to make sure that these things do what they need to do. And so the cost of that is split up between all of these different millions of products that are sold to people, right? And so like when you pay for a phone, like the technology that's in it and the things that you can do with it are amazing. Yes. But when you step into a corporate environment or an educational environment or things like that, you're almost recreating like these island systems, right? And so like the cell phone network, as an example, AT&T, it's the same thing. They've got 100,000 people and there's millions of subscribers. And so that cost is distributed across a huge amount of people.
Right.
And if you're recreating something for it to be secure, for it to be, to do the things that you need it to do, the cost for those things a lot of times exponentially increases because there's just a lot to do. There's a lot of moving parts. There's a lot of things that come into play with that. So it's always been interesting to have that conversation with people around, why can't I just do this because it's so easy from my phone? Well, it's like they don't take into consideration the thousands and thousands of research hours and the time and everything spent in developing the product. And now like that product is sold to millions and millions and millions of people. Whereas if you're in a 100-person company,
right,
and you have a requirement to keep your digital security intact, right, and make sure that you don't have any outside access and these kind of things, you're recreating some of these systems, and it's like you have to take that into account when you build them.
One of the things in business development that is important is listening.
Yeah,
I've been around some guys that can sell you anything.
Yeah. Exactly.
And they're smooth, and I'm going, gosh, how do you, and that's not me. That's not, I've never been that way. So what I've learned is the ones that when you're in sales, business development, or building a business or any of that, kind of to what you're talking about, you need to be able to listen to what people are saying. That's fine. But if all you're doing is listening and you're hearing what you want and how you can sell them, you have to be an active listener.
Correct.
To where I'm listening. If I need to take notes, I'll take notes. And then I want to reiterate what you're saying. So what I'm hearing you say is this.
Correct.
When I do that from a sales standpoint, when I do that from an educational standpoint, when I do that from a business owner standpoint, I've strengthened my position.
Yeah.
Because now we're on the same page. And I find out, one, whether you're one of my people that we're going to deal with.
Yeah.
Or two, I find out, no, we're not.
Yeah.
We're not on the same place.
Yeah.
I think from a business standpoint, having that conversation and understanding that is really important.
Yeah.
At the end of the day, it's just a relationship.
Yeah.
And whether that's one of the things that I'm not fearful, cautious with technology is when we start getting away from that relationship piece, then we've missed out. But in any of the stuff that we do, business especially, I'm developing a relationship. And if I'm working on that relationship and you matter, then we have a relationship where we can do business. But even in our just personal lives, same thing. Education, the kids have to trust me.
Yeah.
They're not going to walk in that room and just automatically trust me unless they've been trained to, but they really still are skeptical.
Yeah.
So I have to be real, authentic. I have to be just like I would in a sales environment.
Yeah.
Be the same person, because at the end of the day, I'm selling them on education.
Yeah.
But I still got to meet their needs and ask them where they're missing. The crossover there is amazing in what business and education and how it crosses over and what we do in our classrooms versus what we do in a business.
Yeah.
It's very similar.
Yeah, totally get that. We talk a lot about, in the company and on the show, we talk a lot about the interaction of content, technology, and physical space. So the content or the message, in your case with the educational piece, like what you're actually presenting to the students, right? That'd be the content of your message, right?
Yes.
And then you've got the technology, whether it's the presentation system, your TV, or whatever the other thing is that you're using to get that to them, and then how that all incorporates in the physical space. Right? So how do all of those things come together? It's always interesting to kind of talk through that journey with people that are using technology in different ways, because like the message really at the end of the day is the most important thing.
Correct.
Right.
Yes.
You're only using the technology to multiply that and get it out in front of as many people as possible.
Right.
It's always fun to kind of walk through that with people. And that's some of the reasons I was asking kind of about the technology you're using and what do you find the most effective? What do you see that, really helps you with those things rather than detracts from those things? Because I feel like, technology can be one of those things. It's like you're putting in 100% effort to teach a class or to go into a client and give a presentation or whatever the thing is, right? But you want the technology to subtract as little from that as possible, because everything else is, you're putting in 100% effort on the thing that you're doing. And then everything else that's going on, a person's attention span, the technology in the room, the physical space, any of those other things, they're all going to start to subtract from the 100% that you're putting in. So how can you get to a place where, all of those things subtract as little as possible?
It's value added. It has to add value.
Yeah. No, totally.
If it doesn't add value, let it go.
Yeah, I totally get that.
Yeah.
So awesome. Bryan, walk us through where people can find you if they want to get in contact with you, and we'll put all that in the show notes as well.
No, yeah. LinkedIn's easy. You can find me at Bryan Hill on LinkedIn. You should be able to find me. I look the same, no different. I have a podcast, What Makes You Tick, also on LinkedIn. I have a YouTube channel that also projected on. That's the easiest way to find me.
Awesome.
And I'm pretty active. We do have a group called Cup of Joey that meets. It's a networking group, and I hesitate to say networking because it's a connection group. And it's about understanding your purpose.
Yeah.
And we're going to connect on purpose, not what you're selling me or what you do, because there's not a disconnect. So we want to connect with why.
Yeah.
Purpose.
Yeah.
We meet here in the Woodlands. We've got once a month.
Yep.
There's one in the Ion that meets every Friday.
Nice.
It's a fantastic group.
That's awesome.
Also can find us on LinkedIn.
Good stuff. We'll put all that in the show notes for everybody. Yep. Bryan, thank you so much for coming in, man. This is a great conversation. Really appreciate it.
No, I'm honored, and thank you for your time.
Yeah, absolutely.